morning, dear colleague. I have no conflict of interest. On this presentation, I will talk about a new safe approach of sclerotherapy and the evaluation of the two classical approach in ultrasound-guided sclerotherapy. Ultrasound-guided sclerotherapy is a widely used alternative to surgery. It slowly becomes state-of-art in method of the treatment of varicose vein, and in real time ultrasound gout offers several advantages when we compare it to the alternative, blind alternative. The two, transversal and longitudinal approach are two main approaches in cannulation, and this conventional approach are generally regarded as one of the most reliable types of venous puncture, and possibly failure has not been recognized. We believe that many trades and consultants fail to use this ultrasound in its full potential during this treatment. The lack of understanding of how to assess the position of the invasive device, in particular the location of the needle tip, as we said yesterday, is a major obstacle. So theory and practice of needle visualization with ultrasound is not well described, even in the phlebology text. So the ideal ultrasound allows identification of the target vein and collateral structures, and real-time guidance to precisely place needle and tip shaft. The imaging, the beam mode imaging, the plane of this ultrasound image may be oriented relative to the vessel to have transversal or longitudinal axis. When you have the positioning the long footprint of the probe perpendicular to the course of the vessel, you got the transversal one, which is called the short axis view. This short axis view, you can have an anechoic circle image. This short axis view allows an identification of the target vein and the collateral structures. This long axis, the image is obtained with the probe and vessel in parallel. This image should show the course of the vessel across the screen, and the view identifies the target vessel anechoic along its length. But when we say that the vessel has been punctured with the transversal or longitudinal view, this statement gives only one piece of information. It's only concerned the approach of the vessel and not the approach of the needle. No information about the needle. And when we say the vessel has been punctured without, out plane or in plane, it's only concerned the axis approach of the needle and not information about the vein. In plane view on the left and out the plane. The long axis in plane view needle is one of the most used approach in our treatment in sclerotherapy. This in plane view long axis has the advantage of allowing visualization of the entire needle and shaft and tips. But it may be more difficult to keep the plane of the ultrasound in line with the vessel, as the plane of the image may slip off to the side of the plane of the needle and or the center of the vessel. As we said, it's like a credit card. Thereby is not adapted to the tortuous vein. Another popular approach is the outplane short axis, which we call the transversal one. This out-of-plane transverse have the advantage to keep an eye on the target, on the vein, but does not offer the optimal ability to visualize the control the needle tip during the cannulation process. And this may, on this process, this may be the needle tip, but it could be also any part of the needle shaft. They look identical to the ultrasound. That's the limit, the principal limit. You have two approaches, two classical approaches, one in plane long axis longitudinal and the out plane short axis transversal. But there's two approach don't identify the target vein, collateral structure, and real-time guidance in the same time. So that's the limit. So I propose the original approach of neither longitudinal nor of plane, but the combination of the two, in order to identify the collateral structure and real-time guidance to precisely place the needle and shaft. This is the short axis in play. So how it works? The probe is placed perpendicular to the venous axis with the saphenous vein centrally positioned, and after the skin is punctured with needle in plain view in short axis of the vein in tangent incidence, like this. The advantage of the short axis is to keep an eye on the target vein and surrounding structures and offer the operator the good midline orientation. So we can visualize all the entire needle shaft and tip, keep on track to the localization of the needle and monitor progress of the needle. That's the advantage of this approach. So the in-plane short axis allowed an ideal ultrasound image and treatment with identification the surround structures and the real guidance at the same time. I would like to report you just two cases. The first case is a symptomatic small saphenous vein incompetent. I choose to treat this saphenous vein with the in-plane short axis. You can see here, you can see the needle in plane. Keep on track to control the surround, the small saphenous vein. We are in there to keep an eye on the target. And after, I give you a second report when you have a small saphenous vein competent with a tributary dependent with the Achillean perforating vein. So I want to treat only the perforating vein with the tributary and not the competent saphenous vein. So you can see here on your right the small saphenous vein competent, the tributary, the collateral dependent of the perforated vein on your left, and the arteriocerebral nerve. So we are controlling all of this round vein. And you can see also here another structure which is important to avoid is here just the talocalcaneal tendon. And on this image you can see the reflux just on the varix dependent the perforated vein and not the small saphenous vein. So I choose to treat only the small, only the collateral perforating Achillean vein and not the small saphenous veins with the short axis in plane. Targeting the vein, we puncture the vein under the control, shaft and tips are under control, and we inject without puncturing the small saphenous vein. You can see that after treatment, the small saphenous vein is not treated. Another report, this recurrence, it's a good indication for this approach. On this recurrence, we choose a variant of this short axis in the plane with oriented just a little oblique, 45 degrees, and it's very interesting to treat them with this approach, because if you choose to treat it with the long axis, just long axis out of the plane, it's very difficult because it's tortuous. So we are going to talk just for this first study of evaluation of the two classical approach. It means short axis out of plane and longitudinal axis in plane. The two classical approach. We compare it with the small study. We compare the success rate or ultrasound guide on phantom ultrasound training model between two operators. The first operator was confirmed, experienced, and the second had never performed this type of treatment. The test consisted in puncturing under ultrasound guidance, 10 times successfully in the artificial veins of the simulator phantom. The result is in case of the short axis out of plane approach, there is no significant difference between senior and junior. Probably because the experiment one was not very used to use the long axis. But in the long axis in plane approach, there is a significant difference between the senior and the junior approach. But it's very interesting, the decrease in the time after fifth trial. So it means that the junior operator gets improved after fifth trial in both of measurements. So we can conclude that the rapid learning of the two classical ultrasound guided sclerotherapy approach is possible with this method training. It would be beneficial to consider them in the light of a new validated international terminology. And the original in-plane short axis is a combination of the two approaches, and it allows continuous and surrounding structures in order to avoid complication without losing efficiency. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zerrouk, for an interesting presentation. Also enjoyed your artwork. Is that yours?